Are you struggling with feeling stuck in your life journey? Does it seem as if the challenges or conflicts that you keep experiencing are on repeat? Healing through feeling could be your new way through to a more satisfying life. Now, here is the host of the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide, Sharyn Nichols.
Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, and I am so excited. I had an incredibly relaxing weekend. So, thank you so much for tuning in to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the incredible Inspired Choices Network. I'm not even quite sure where all this energy is coming from, although I'm really excited to have it. So, today's topic is the F word, failure. And I know I'm saying it sort of tongue in cheek, although I actually had so much fun thinking about this topic, researching this topic, thinking about all of my past failures and how to incorporate them and talk about them. Although first, as usual, I'm going to start with a meditation. And today's meditation is called grace, because I don't think it's something that we all give ourselves enough. So I'm just going to receive a breath myself. So the intention of today's meditation is to cover you in grace so you can let go of all the shoulds and rest in knowing that you're doing a great job right now, that you are doing your best. And that is always enough. There's nothing more for you to do, nothing more that you need to be. You are doing a great job. You are beautiful. So let's begin, as we always do, with receiving a breath, holding it, exhaling, and holding the breath out. And let's inhale, hold, exhale, hold out. So now allowing your eyes to close if you haven't already, and relaxing your body, settling yourself into a comfortable position where you feel relaxed and alive. Notice your breath as you inhale and exhale. Inhale compassion and grace, and exhale loudly all the thoughts that are constricting you. One more time. Let go. Let yourself be soothed by the rhythm of your own breath, expanding, contracting, expanding with your breath in, contracting with your breath out. Settle into your own body's rhythm, your own breath. Let it calm you. Let it slow you down. Let it help you let go. Let it bring you to this moment, to the right here, right now, to this breath. You may have been hearing lately the noise or the voice in your head saying, I should be doing more. I am not doing enough. You might not always be able to wave it away initially, because sometimes the noise just persists. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Let it go. Just let it go. This noise, these thoughts, this voice can leave you feeling guilty, anxious, or deeply judgmental about yourself. The noise can get louder when we compare ourselves to others, or when we expect perfection from ourselves. And if you listen carefully, you may hear something beyond all that noise or that voice. And it may come upon you in a much more subtle way. It can be in the shower, just before you fall asleep, in the loving words from a friend or relative. It's your inner voice, your true voice, the true you. And your inner voice knows the truth. So receive a deep breath in, let it go, and let those words rejuvenate you. Let these words, you are doing a great job. You don't need to do anything more. You are enough. You're doing your best. And when there is an opening for more, I will guide you there with tenderness, excitement, and energy, not with the stress and the guilt of all the shoulds. You are incredible. You are doing a great job right now. Breathe that in, bringing your attention to your breath. And with every breath, imagine yourself breathing in grace, love, and acceptance. And with every breath out, imagine yourself letting go of the shame, the guilt, or the perfection that you may be holding on to. Breathe in love. Breathe out guilt. Breathe in grace. Breathe out perfection. Breathe in acceptance. Breathe out shame. You are exactly where you need to be right now. Just let go. You are doing exactly what you need to be doing. You are doing your best. Trust your voice. Trust yourself. Receiving a breath. Exhaling. Feeling yourself coming back into your space. Receiving another breath. Exhaling. And when you are ready, allowing your eyes to open. Feeling a sense of grace and empowerment and inner knowing. Thank you. That was as equally as moving and grounding and important for me, because I know I started with all this incredible energy, and so now I've been able to reel it in such a positive way, because my inner voice was telling me that I got this and that I'm not failing and that I got this. And I know that this is the phrase that, this is the new one, to put this on the Post-it, stick it to the mirror. You got this. You go, girl. Yes. And why does failure get such a bad rap? It's not one of the worst F words. Failure is defined as a lack of success or the inability to meet an expectation. How many of us have these expectations that we put on ourselves, all those shoulds? That's what I was just saying to let go of. Let go of them. Because the best examples of failures allow us to tell a really compelling story, because hopefully you learned something and you grew from that failure. I will, as the rest of the show goes on, share some of my colossal failures, and then some of the little ones, and then some of the ones that weren't even colossal, although they were pretty big, although I learned huge lessons from them, because failure is a key part of your life, because you are the sum of all of your experiences, and nothing can debilitate us as much or is as scary as the fear of failure. Now, I know I talked a lot about fear and feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And that, of course, is going to be incorporated more into mostly everything that I really do talk about. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk more about what some of the research says about failure and some of our fears of it. So thank you so much for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Inspired Choices Network. And we just completed a meditation and started to talk a little bit about failure. And when we come back, we're going to dive deeper. See you back in a minute or so.
At different times on our life journey, we can feel stuck and struggle with seeing our way through. What if the answer to the struggle is just to go deeper than the surface? By tuning in to Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols, you'll receive insight and guidance on exploring your feelings in order to heal yourself. Are you ready to create a more satisfying, peaceful, and successful life? Listen for the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also ask questions or comments by email by sending to Sharyn Nichols at feeltoheal.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Inspired Choices Network. And today's topic is failure. So first, I need to talk about the fear of failure because, fear is, that wonderful thing, false evidence appearing real a lot of the time. And so, in fact, research indicates that our fear of failure tops the list of our phobias, with nearly 1 in 3 people having a fear of failure. That's about 31%, ahead of our fear of public speaking or fear of spiders, which is 30%, or even our fear of the paranormal, ghosts. Ooh. Also, nearly half of all adults, almost 49%, admitted that the fear of failure was their biggest roadblock to either achieving their goals at all or the fear of having to revisit them. I just have to sigh on that. How many times we have held ourselves back from this fear of doing anything, fear of failure, which I'm going to keep talking and keep saying, I apologize. I repeat myself again. That's from last week's show. For me, the fear of failure doesn't actually keep us in the present moment because we're so worried about the future. It keeps us stuck and not wanting to risk anything because what if it doesn't work? So if we are scared to relive the pain of the past of a failure, then we might not even give it a second try. Which could be the try that actually does succeed. So how often do we get in our own way? By either A, not trying, being afraid of failing, and then with our expectations, the shoulding, all of those voices in our head. I'm going to come back around to that. So, because here are some powerful ways that we can reframe how we think about failure. So we need to remind ourselves that there are actually only 3 ways to actually fail. Are you ready? When we quit, when we don't improve, so we don't learn from our mistakes, or when we never try. I've been saying vulnerability is the new sexy. That's the trying part. Being vulnerable is trying. And learning from our mistakes Wow. I can't say enough. I can't say enough that I am so grateful to myself that I now see failing as an opportunity. I don't see it as shame, as something horrible. And I have this show to thank for it because I feel as though I failed miserably in my first couple of shows. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was prepared. I was shitting all over myself. I thought I should already have it down pat. Like I should just show up day one being an expert at speaking for an hour into a microphone, into into the abyss, into the out there, knowing that whoever is going to hear me will hear me when they need to hear me and hear what I have to say and then support me. And I've gotten some incredible feedback from friends, from family, from even complete strangers who have listened and let me know. And it's been wonderful. I have been able to keep improving. And each week I get to show up being better than the week before because that's my goal. Because I constantly want to keep improving on my failures, on my mistakes, on the things that I did wrong, or the things, how about that I didn't do well the first time. And I do think back and about how this show would be if I just quit after the third or fourth show when, I completely I cried through the second show. And yes, it was very embarrassing. And yes, I did feel like a failure, although I went to sleep that night. And I know I've shared this before. I went to sleep that night knowing that I still did the best that I possibly could and that I learned from my mistake. And here we are. Each week now, I look forward to sitting down in front of this microphone with this wonderful, incredible picture behind me and speaking my truth and from my inner voice and sharing, because that is my name, sharing my thoughts and my feelings with those who want to listen. And then I just hope, actually, I guess I also just know that somewhere along the way, you will pick up one little piece or one little nugget for yourself that will then perhaps turn something around for you and set you on a different path. Because failure is an event, it's not a person. Failing at something doesn't mean that you are a failure. And if you fail at one thing, doesn't mean that you're going to fail at all the other things you do going forward. And here's the other thing about failure. Failure doesn't happen to us. You are not a victim of failure. Failure happens for us. Believing that when you fail, that it was for a reason, a good one. Because perhaps it was so you can experience an even better success later on. Or it just may be that it needed to happen so you can learn something vital that'll propel you forward to even more success or to the next success. See, we need to look at failure as a delay. It's not a detour. It may just slow you down. Okay. Pick yourself up. Move on. Take a deep breath. Let it go. You are so much more than just your failures. I can't wait to share with you some of the biggest ones. And if they got stopped from their own failures, what would actually be? Just going to receive a breath. We don't suffer when we fail. Our ego does. As I've mentioned before, our ego is our mind, and our mind's job is to keep us safe and alive. So your mind will tell you not to do something because your mind is afraid that it will have its own ego death, which is just in your mind and not true. And again, this fear is just false evidence appearing real. We were taught at a very early age that success is winning and failing is losing. We're not taught that failure is actually a part of winning. That in order to actually be a winner, you have to fail. Because if you're not taught how to fail and fail with complete and total grace, then you actually can't be taught how to be a graceful winner. So this is totally what's missing from our school system. This is what's missing from our parenting in terms of teaching children how to be graceful failures in the moment. I mean, of course, we're taught if you get straight A's is the way to go. Because with straight A's, then you're guaranteed to get into the best top schools. And then you're guaranteed to get into, to get the best jobs. And therefore, then you'll make the most money. Although let's actually really look at that. That was a way. Although there's so many kids who are applying to schools with better than 4.0 GPAs, and they're still being turned down because they're not a well-rounded human being. They had just been so focused on one thing, getting good grades, that they actually then haven't been given the opportunity to fail with grace. Because to fail is deeply human. Everyone, no matter their background, skill set, life story, will fail spectacularly at least once in their life. It's so part of human nature. It doesn't mean, though, that experiencing a major loss or setback is easy or fun, or that it's widely accepted in this incredible winner-takes-all culture that we live in. But learning to be okay with making a mistake is a critical skill. And it's one that we all deeply need to know how to be able to be with in order to be able to be successful. It's the polarities. You can't have one without the other. You need them both in order to exist. And it's not about being only a failure or being only a success. It's about being in the middle, being in balance. So I know I briefly talked about human design, and all three of my children, their profiles are a 3-5, which means that for the first 30 years of their life, they are literally supposed to be bumping into things, literally and figuratively. I shouldn't say they are supposed to be. I apologize. Wrong word. They can. And therefore, when they do, it's about, as their mom, yes, kissing away the bruises when they literally bump into something and letting them know to be more mindful of the things and the obstacles in their way. And it's also about looking at all of their failures, and I'm putting that in air quotes for those who are listening, as experiences, and being able to learn from them and not ridiculing them, and really helping them and supporting them with managing their own expectations. Because that's what we do to each other. We put expectations, we put the shoulds, we do all that wonderful good stuff to one another, and especially our children. And so before we go to break, I just want to say, let's change this conversation about failure. And let's start talking about it as experiences. Let's talking about it as it's just as important as succeeding. It really is, because it gives us so much information. Thank you so much for listening to this part of the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on our topic of failure on the incredible Inspired Choices Network. And when we come back, we're going to go even deeper. See you back in a couple of minutes.
At different times on our life journey, we can feel stuck and struggle with seeing our way through. What if the answer to the struggle is just to go deeper than the surface? By tuning in to Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols, you'll receive insight and guidance on exploring your feelings in order to heal yourself. Are you ready to create a more satisfying, peaceful, and successful life? Listen for the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also ask questions or comments by email by sending to Sharyn Nichols at feeltoheal.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, and thank you for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the incredible Inspired Choices Network. And today's topic is failure. And just before break, I was saying that to fail is deeply human, and everyone, no matter who they are, where they were born, where they live, no human being has not failed spectacularly in some way, shape, or form in their life. So really, what's important is being okay with making mistakes, big or small. It's a skill. It's a critical skill that we need to learn. It's a muscle that we need to exercise, because resilience is the key to future success. Because people who fail repeatedly develop persistence in the face of difficulties. So when you are so successful, you can just keep doing the same thing. Why would you do anything different? Why would you? Although that also can be a detriment as well. So when you fail, here's the big thing. You are forced to adapt and change, should you choose to. You can cower in the corner and never put yourself out there again. Although every so often someone will poke at you and say, "Come on!" Or those voices in your head will be like, "Get yourself up and go goddamn do something." Okay. So you failed. How do you recover and move forward? I'm going to tell you how. I don't know. Actually, only a handful of people really truly do know this, but I actually failed out of college. After my sophomore year, I didn't like school. I have ADD, didn't know how to deal with it. I was shooting on myself, the expectations of my parents, just all of it. I can go on, not being a victim of it, just I did. And then I realized that actually that's not who I wanted to be. So I petitioned, I got back into school, I took summer school, I did whatever I needed to do to bring up my GPA. And I am so grateful that I did that, because then I graduated with a degree, a business degree in marketing. And then I went to work. And then I realized that, well, I didn't realize we know this we already know this story of my life, where I was told that I should become a game show contestant coordinator or a therapist. So we know that I went back to school, and I was so grateful that I gave myself the opportunity to do school again. So I ended up graduating in my master's degree with better than a 3.5 GPA, which was huge for Sharyn when she barely graduated. I mean, yes, I pulled up my GPA, so I was able to graduate from college. And isn't that awesome? Isn't that great? And I am so grateful that I gave myself the opportunity to redo school, because then I was able to be a success at something that I had failed at. And so it's always available to you, however big or small, it doesn't matter. You can always figure out another way for you to look at your failure as an experience, as an opportunity, which is exactly what I did. So it was, for me, it was about accepting that I had failed and not being so embarrassed by it. I mean, even in preparing for the show and knowing that this was something that I needed to talk about, I was still worried for a moment that I was going to be judged, because here I am now admitting I failed at something. Yes, that was my colossal failure, or at least one of them, that I failed. Although I am so grateful that I failed, because I was able to redo school. I was able to really get that my intelligence never matched my grades. My intelligence never met with they never were really truly a sign. My grades were not a sign as to who actually I was. I was not going to fit in that mold of needed to get straight A's in order to go to the top school, in order to get the top job. And it wasn't that I was settling with mediocrity. I was just truly accepting who I was, who I am. Again, my intelligence never matched my grades. I was never one for school, and that's okay. And now with my 3 children, my oldest did 1 year of college and decided it wasn't for her. And she's kicking ass now out in the real world, working. She has kept moving herself forward with every job. She has moved herself up on her ladder, whatever that is, because it's not about me. And so letting her know and teaching her that it is okay to fail. It's okay to quit after you've given it 100%, after you've given 100% of your best. And I know I mentioned in the beginning that failing is quitting, or quitting, excuse me, that quitting is failing, although it is about knowing when to walk away. So it is also okay to quit after you've given it your best and it's not working. Although that's going to be a topic for another show. But we'll come back around as I usually do. I'm just moving. So, some of the benefits of accepting failure. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, it's just okay. It's just okay. Because it's really about the doing. What really matters is the process. It's enjoying the journey on the way to the goal. Even if you fail. And it's not who you are and what you do when you fail or when you succeed that actually matters. It's what you make of it. It's what you do with it for yourself. Excuse me, it's not what others think. It's not the external. It's how you embrace yourself and you allow yourself to fail. Thinking, letting my mind go. I think you need to define what success actually really means to you. And then actually what failure really means. Because I now see failure as a little success, as a little win. Because then that means that I actually tried. That means I actually went out of my comfort zone. That means I actually felt the fear and did it anyway. And I still gave it my best and I tried. And I tried, meaning that I did. Because I know I've mentioned before that trying doesn't really exist. It's actually in the doing. So it's the fact that I actually did something. And even if it didn't work, it's still okay. Because I did. I attempted. I moved forward. So it's truly about doing something regardless of the outcome, regardless of who sees you, applauds you, or even notices. You know. You know the truth of who you are. That inner voice knows, the positive inner voice. And that's what you get to hold in your mind and in your heart. You know, you do know. Hitting rock bottom is can be actually such a positive thing. Because one of my friend's favorite quotes is from J.K. Rowling. And rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. And rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. Doesn't matter how you feel about J.K. Rowling and her politics, it's sort of irrelevant. What's important is how she did hit rock bottom and rebuilt her life. And it is so important to be able to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and move on. And so when we come back from break, we're going to talk more about what we can do. Thank you for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the Inspired Choices Network. And we'll be right back.
At different times on our life journey, we can feel stuck and struggle with seeing our way through. What if the answer to the struggle is just to go deeper than the surface? By tuning in to Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show, with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols, you'll receive insight and guidance on exploring your feelings in order to heal yourself. Are you ready to create a more satisfying, peaceful, and successful life? Listen for the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show with licensed marriage and family therapist and life guide Sharyn Nichols. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also ask questions or comments by email by sending to Sharyn Nichols at feeltoheal.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for listening to the Feel to Heal show with myself, Sharyn Nichols, on the incredible Inspired Choices Network. Failure. Oi. You know, over the years, it's been something that I've been afraid to actually talk about. I've run from it. I haven't wanted to admit to it. I've been so ashamed of it. And I am so grateful for this forum for myself because I can't hide. You know, I've done so much work in so many different workshops, and I'll never forget in my early 20s, I was maybe 23 or 24, in one of the workshops, we were told, it was a 3-day workshop. So this was Friday, and we were told on that Friday night, at the end, before they were giving us information and telling us what to expect for the next day and blah, blah, blah. And they said, and tomorrow you're going to come in with all of your failures. And I was like, oh my God, what does that mean? Am I going to have to get up and share and talk about all of my failures and all the things and mind you, I'm only 23. I haven't even lived a life yet, really. I haven't really experienced a lot of failures. And so the next day, come in and, of course, I'm just sitting quietly and silently. And the person leading the workshop starts talking about how he loves this part of the workshop because we really get to face it and really look at it and experience it and talk about it and work through what we need to work through and so on. And he said that that this was maybe his 20th time leading the workshop. He said, and someone actually came in with a bag of failures. And I just was like, oh my God, concrete failures, not just in the mind failures. What do you do with that? And then, of course, I thought I failed because I didn't come in with a bag of concrete failures. I just had a ton in my head. And so we can unpack this and go layer by layer by layer. Oh, man. So we should ask ourselves, what if these people had let failure shut them down? So let's think about this. What if the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan, was cut from his high school team and never went back to playing basketball? What if Walt Disney was fired from his job at a newspaper early on in his career because they said he lacked imagination? What if Steven Spielberg was rejected from film school 3 times and didn't go for the 4th? John Grisham's first book, A Time to Kill, was rejected 28 times. It was the 29th time that did it. And thank goodness, because he gave us some really incredible fiction and he really gave us some things to think about. Sorry, that's my own personal 2 cents. Did you know that Albert Einstein had the label mentally slow put on his school record? Or what if it was put on his school record permanently? And therefore he wasn't allowed to, because he was labeled, he didn't keep going and going and going and going until he came up with some wonderful things for us to actually contemplate on. And what if Henry Ford allowed himself to stop after his first 2 automobile companies failed? And what about Oprah Winfrey? What if she was fired very early on from a job as a television news anchor? Where would we be without Oprah? I mean, it's really, truly a lot because of Oprah that I'm actually even speaking. She's always been one of my heroes, one of my sheroes, because she put herself out there. She allowed herself to be vulnerable. She allowed herself to be judged, and she kept going forward because she knew she had an incredible message that needed to be put out there. And she did it spectacularly on the air. What would we be without Jerry Seinfeld if he was booed off the stage in his first stand-up comedic appearance and never went back? And Dyson, he suffered through 5,126 failed prototypes before he landed on the first working Dyson vacuum. 5,126 times. And what if Elvis Presley stopped after he was fired from the Grand Ole Opry and was told to go back to being a truck driver? And last but not least, what would we do if Colonel Sanders of the KFC fame was rejected over 1,000 times before finding a franchise partner? What would we do without KFC? What would we do without McDonald's? What would we do without Burger King and Wendy's and all of those, and In-N-Out, my personal favorite? What would we do without all of these franchise? Taco Bell, must give shout out to Taco Bell. What would we do without the franchises? Well, do you feel better? Because you should. And yes, I am shitting on you. We've all been there. We've all had to reframe ourselves to be able to keep ourselves going, pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and move on. You know what they call the person who graduates last in his class or her class, in their class, excuse me with the pronouns, from Harvard Medical School. Still call him doctor. Even though he or she or they. I'm done.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Feel to Heal with Sharyn Nichols show. Sharyn Nichols will return next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, give up the struggle, feel all you need to feel, and make this week your best one yet.
Make it the best one yet.